Hi there. I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the positioning of this two-axis heliostat solar concentrator sun tracker. It is pretty simple now that I have the rotary magnetic encoders, because they provide the ability to choose an absolute position in a circle, just like let's say a certain degree angle. And because the Earth moves around its axis and the movement of the Sun is basically a circular movement through the sky, I can very easily track it by adjusting the position dependent on the time of the day. So what I can do, for example, is if the sun track is this blue line at the bottom, then I can simply say, well, the vertical axis, the yaw axis, has to go from where the sun comes up from here to there. That's a number of degrees, that's a number of positions on my magnetic rotary encoder. So I know I simply divide the steps through the degrees, and then I step through it at the appropriate times. There's not much calculation going on. Basically, I know that it has to be at position 60, and then 15 seconds later it has to be at position 61. And if I'm smart, then I try to basically egg on the movement of the motor, so that it always ends up where it has to be on time. That's a little bit more about how the motor interacts with the actual control signals. But in terms of defining its position and calculating it, it's very straightforward. So horizontally, or let's say the vertical axis, it will simply go through all the steps it can within the part of the day that it is operational. So that's an absolute position, which is simply a division between let's say, the angle you want to have it at and the number of steps that this rotary encoder has. So no complex sinus or cosinus calculation at all. And the vertical position also, it goes up to the highest point and then it comes down to the starting point again. And that's also a starting point and end point, but now it's at noon, or at the highest point of the day it has to be at the top, and at the end it has to be at the bottom again. But all the steps, as it is changing, are simply steps by one. So the vertical position goes from 310 to 500. If let's say you have the day where you actually go from those in the, let's say from the sun at the horizon to the sun right above you, then it will simply be 310 to 500 before noon. So divided by the number of seconds there, and you know how much seconds it takes. And then afternoon, the afternoon, exactly the opposite movement. So those are very simple calculations, and that's basically one of the benefits of using these rotary encoders. But I destroyed one more microcontroller. I have no idea why that is, but I think the cause is that I don't separate the 12 and the 5 circuits well enough, so you can get artifacts and they defy your culture. Okay, so I have to take one for any further. In the meantime, I will use let's say my PC to analyze signals, data from the heliostat, and maybe I find one of these controllers and then I'll program it to simply allow a computer to control the motor signal. And then I have to take very good care of that simple device, so that I can wait for the delivery of my new 20M2 microcontrollers that I'm going to use. If you like this whole project, or if you see a little bit more of it and you want to have one, please send me an email, because I want to make about 10 of these devices with all the electronics for about, I think about $250 per piece or something like that. I think that's feasible. And then I can get let's say the printed circuit boards going and get a little bit more experience with this. They're very useful. They can bring sunlight into your living, in your house, in your office, at a very cheap price. In the winter they can add a number of windows in your house, so they add to the solar gain that your house has, which can reduce gas costs without increasing the loss through radiation, because you're not adding extra windows, you're just increasing the yield of individual windows. Anyway, if you like this, then let me know, and check out the websites and subscribe to greencheck.nl and enable me to do this.